Good evening, everyone. We currently have about 81 participants tonight. We'd like to thank everybody joining us tonight for an info session on computer-based testing, brought to you by CFA Society Philippines and also CFA Institute. Now, before we start, we'd like to ask our President and Chairman, Dr. Robert Ramos, CFA charter holder, a CIPM certificate and a Kaya charter holder, to give us the welcome speech for tonight. May you please call on Dr. Ramos.
Thank you for coming. Forgive the error. I was unable to unmute due to technical difficulties. So it is a pleasure to meet a group of individuals who are looking for ways to continue to improve on their skills even during this pandemic. Preparing and taking the CFA exams is an obvious road to further self-development. Although there are some bumps along this road, well, this is one big bump. Rest assured that the CFA Institute is doing its best it can to ensure that the CFA exams are conducted in an environment where all of you feel safe and secure. Again, even during these times, I wish you all the best in this journey. So thank you very much. I give you back to Rochelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramos, for the welcome remarks for this evening's event. And I think a lot of the candidates, or actually all of the candidates, know already about the postponement of the December 2020 exams. And there's also a video that we showed which shows the options for candidates. For December 2020 candidates, the exam will be automatically canceled in their accounts, and they will be allowed to register for exams by 2021. And currently, for CFA candidates, CFA Society Philippines conducts a review class for level 1 and also mock exams for all levels, level 1, level 2, and level 3. And the CFA Society Philippines also opens its doors to candidates who are willing to help out in the society and be a volunteer. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our corporate sponsor, the corporate sponsor of CFA Society Philippines, our platinum sponsor, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, our silver sponsor, FTI Consulting, and bronze sponsor, Infinite O. And now let's get to the main session for today. And I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker for tonight. She is currently the Senior Director for Exam Development in the Asia Pacific of CFA Institute. She leads the Global One exam development team consisting of over 80 worldwide consultants and staff. She's responsible for developing strategies and driving projects of the CFA program and the exam and the mission of CFA Institute. And one of our key projects is transitioning from the exam paper-based to computer-based. And with her background and professional experiences in Asia Pacific, she outreaches to CFA societies, standard-setting bodies, practitioners, and credentialing organizations in the region to seek insights and develop strategies that are relevant to the CFA program and the exam. She has over 20 years of global experiences in the financial services and investment management industry. And prior to joining CFA Institute, she held the position of Senior Manager, Assurance, Financial Services, and Asset Management of PwC Hong Kong. Her clients include global and regional asset managers in traditional and alternative investment spaces, hedge funds, private equity, venture capital, real estate, and infrastructure. She led assurance and consulting projects including investment fund setup, regulatory licensing, and internal control compliance. And she had assurance, consulting, and financial services working experiences in the United States and also in Canada. She holds a Master's of Economics from the University of California at Berkeley, a Master of Laws, Corporate and Financial Laws from University of Hong Kong. She graduated as a Bachelor of Science with summa cum laude distinction in Management Science and Phi Beta Kappa from University of California, San Diego. She's also a CFA charter holder, a certified public accountant licensed in California, USA, a chartered professional accountant of Canada, and a certified public accountant practicing at Hong Kong. She is an active participant in the Accounting Standards Roundtable panel of the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants. And may you please welcome here Miss Grace Yung, CFA, CPA.
Thank you so much, Rochelle, and thank you so much, Dr. Ramos. It's my great pleasure to be with you all today. And I know this is a Friday evening, and we have a lot of fun activities to do, and I do appreciate you're going to be 1.5 hours to be with me, and that makes my Friday a perfect one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace. You may now have the floor.
Thank you, appreciate it. Good evening once again, and I'm going to talk about today regarding the CFA program and also the CBT, as well as Dr. Ramos just mentioned, about some of the upcoming changes, as well as regarding the December exam. So I'll start with the CFA program and the CFA exam first. So regarding the CFA program, the CFA charter, and thank you so much for the industry support. It's being called the gold standard, and it is worldwide recognized, globally recognized by more than 167,000 investment professionals having this particular three words in their designation. And these wonderful investment professionals work in more than 165 countries. The charter itself is highly recognized by a lot of regulatory bodies in the world for meeting certain credentialing and licensing requirements. And also the pleasure to share with you is that more than 500 universities around the world have actually incorporated the CFA program into the university's degree. So what are we going to study in these three levels of the exam? Essentially, ethics is core to everything. I actually had the opportunity to watch the video before the session began, and I fully agree with one of the charter holders from Philippines mentioning this. Ethics is the core of everything. That should be with our heart. So with that said, you can see ethics is in the core of each of the circular diagrams, and they will be present in each level of the exam. And talking about that, the program is actually made up of 10 different topics or domains, and the weights differ because that actually mimic or reflect the career path of a typical investment professional. So when an investment professional starts his or her career as an analyst, he or she needs to understand and get familiarized a little bit more about the investment tools, for instance, like economics, accounting, corporate finance, and quantitative methods. And when the person actually proceeds to actually a few more years down the career as, let's say, an experienced analyst or even a junior portfolio manager, he or she needs to actually understand and apply more knowledge towards the asset classes, and therefore equity, fixed income, derivatives, and alternative investments will have a heavier weight in the knowledge of that particular person in a career. And further down the road of the career, when the person progresses towards a professional portfolio manager, he or she needs to actually synthesize what has been learned in the past and actually gel them together into in-depth analysis of a portfolio. And therefore, portfolio management and also wealth planning are going to be the core. So as you can see, the three levels of the exam actually also are designed very similar towards the career path of an investment professional as well. Therefore, the knowledge expected is actually going to be about knowledge and also comprehension recall at level 1. And for level 2, it's more about application and analysis. And for level 3, it's going to be synthesis and evaluation. And in terms of the value of the charter to candidates and their employers, we frequently do survey And the purpose is actually listen to the feedback from our stakeholders, our candidates, regulators, and also their employers. And actually, as you can see from the bar chart on the left, over 95% of the candidates told us that they agree the curriculum focuses on concepts that are actually important to the investment profession. And having said that, this is actually translated and reflected into the compensation as well, in terms of the compensation of a charter holder for financial advisors compared with other popular destinations. Another question I think a lot of candidates will ask is, okay, after I get my charter, what can I do with my career? So in terms of the investment practices, you can see that actually over 1/3 of our charter holders actually practice in equities, and about 20% are in fixed income. And having said that, there are many different specialties a charter holder can practice, like private equity, hedge fund, structured products, etc. So it's meant to be actually a very broad-based, wide coverage in terms of the knowledge you pick up in this program. So in terms of the job titles, over 20% are portfolio managers, and over 15% are analysts, consultants, etc. And some of them are also risk managers, corporate financial analysts, investment strategies, or other managerial role participants. And I have the pleasure to share with you in terms of some of the global employers of our charter holders. And I trust that these names are not something unfamiliar to you. A lot of them are actually worldwide renowned investment banks, investment management firms, big four accounting firms, etc. So how can I become a charter holder? What do I need about it? I am a quantitative person, so pardon me that I put it into a very straightforward formula. So you can see that the inputs are basically first, a bachelor degree. That means that when you sign up for level 1, we would like you to be in actually your last year of your bachelor degree of studies. And the next thing is to pass all 3 levels of the CFA exam, and then another 4,000 hours of qualified work experience. And that will lead you to the charter. In terms of the CFA program target market, we actually built something called the Candidate Body of Knowledge, CBOK in short, and that it is in a nutshell in terms of what you're going to study in the 3 levels of the exam. So the CBOK is meant to be for generalists. That means it will cover some very broad-based knowledge. We're not going to specialize and pinpoint on some very particular topic with heavyweights, for example, like ESG, for example, like fintech. We will touch on that, but we are not going to have heavy weights and emphasize only in these 2 topics. Also, it's meant to be something that is actually for like earlier career path. That means if you are in the last year of your bachelor studies, or when you actually just begin your career in investment, you are very welcome to actually join the program. It's also meant to be global in terms of the knowledge and also the accessibility as well. We want what you know and what you learn from this program to be useful, no matter where you're going to be, including in the future, if you have an opportunity to actually work somewhere other than your home country, hometown, you'll also find the knowledge you learn being relevant as well. At the same time, we actually are very careful in terms of striking a good balance of practice-based concepts versus academic concepts as well. Getting relevant knowledge is crucial. We want our candidates to learn something that is relevant to the investment management practice, especially from the eyes of their employers and also regulators. As a result, that will actually broaden the concepts learned and therefore actually strengthen the candidates to become relevant to the market for career development. And that's why it is generally accepted. For the CFA program process, we are very careful, vigilant, and meticulous to actually involve a lot of charter holders and also volunteers to design this whole process. This diagram is essentially showing that there are a lot of steps in terms of determining, first of all, in terms of the body of knowledge, and therefore the curriculum, and therefore the exams. And finally, but not last, grading the exam, setting the passing standard, and therefore in terms of determining the passing percentage as well. Every step involves charter holders and volunteers, and is a very meticulous process. It starts with practice analysis. What it means is actually we outreach, we talk to the practitioners, we talk to faculties, we talk to regulators to get an understanding that from their perspective, what do they expect future charter holders to know and understand about investment management? Now, this is crucial because, like what I mentioned a few times, relevance is key. What we want our candidates, after spending so many hours of studying, is to actually pick up knowledge that the stakeholders deem as relevant. So therefore, it starts with practice analysis in this particular exercise. Based on that feedback and what they tell us about, we'll have a very good understanding of what's being seen as actually relevant and important to the investment studies. And that's how we actually draft the curriculum. Once again, the process involves a lot of inputs from practitioners, from regulators, faculties, as well as from society leaders, from members associations as well. Then we understand what is the skill, the knowledge, and also the ability that's needed to actually be a successful investment professional, as well as we get a good understanding of what is the current trend in the industry and what is likely to be the future trend as well. That's how we come up with the curriculum, which are essentially the books for studying, and therefore we build the exams accordingly. Just want to give you a quick update about the curriculum because 2020 is an unprecedented year with a lot of changes. We actually freeze the curriculum for 2021. What does that mean? That means the 2021 curriculum will be exactly identical to 2020. There will be no change to the 2021 curriculum. We plan this carefully because we understand that some candidates will be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a result, some will actually take the exam next year in 2021. Therefore, we want to make sure that the candidate experience is going to be consistent, is going to be fair and equitable. And as a result, we would like to maintain a stable curriculum in 2021. At the same time, we actually published in September last month in terms of the refresher readings. The purpose of these refresher readings is to give members and candidates an idea of what topics that would have otherwise been updated and included in the 2021 curriculum. Having said that, these updates become what will be the curriculum in 2022. And with the full 2022 curriculum to be released for the 2022 exam when the registration opens. That means it's likely to be May next year for the level 1 and also subsequently later months for 2021 as well. And this is how a refresher is going to look like. And let me highlight to you some of the curriculum highlights for 2020. This means these are actually the highlights or the updates to the readings compared with 2019. And because 2021 will be the same as 2020, these highlights are also applicable to next year as well. So we have actually broadened our curriculum in terms of several topics about fintech, about institutional and private wealth management, investment asset classes, and as well as what's core to us, ethics and professional standards. In fintech, we included more updates, more chapters readings about machine learning and big data, which are currently some big topics in the meantime. Institutional and private wealth management are something that practitioners value highly. So we have included new readings in terms of overview of private wealth management, portfolio management for institutional investors, and also more case studies. In terms of the investment asset classes, we actually included more about ESG, which is a heavy and also big topic worldwide right now, ETFs and their mechanisms and applications, and also futures, swaps, alternative investments. For ethics and professional standards, we have included a new reading in terms of ethics and trust, in the investment profession, as well as some more case studies and applications about the code and standards. So for all three levels of the CFA exam, they cover 10 different topics. So largely, they are about investment classes, about tools, about portfolio management, and also ethics and professional standards. Having said that, they vary, the three levels vary in terms of the topic weights. Regarding the design of the exam is that for level 1, it's made up of individual standalone multiple choice questions. And for level 2, it's made up of something called item set, which is made up of a vignette or short story, and that is followed by 4 to 6 multiple choice questions. And for level 3, half of the exam is related to item sets and half is related to essay questions. And then in terms of the exam results for level 1 and level 2, the results are available within 60 days after taking the exam. And for level 3, the expectation is within 90 days of taking the exam. I've also included here for your reference in terms of the most recent pass rate. For level 1 and level 2, they are in 40s. And for level 3, they are in the 50s percentage range. We also reach out to candidates and ask for their survey and input. And on average, they told us that they actually took about 300 hours and more in order to prepare each level of exam to be successful. Many candidates ask me, okay, Grace, can you share with us what are the ingredients to passing the CFA program? I have to share with you that actually a very important ingredient is preparation. Having said that, that really means that timing is very important. The program itself has many actually topics to be covered, as I just showed you. At the same time, it has actually a lot of material. It's the breadth that please do not undermine. So having said that, we also provide a lot of very helpful tools to you. The learning ecosystem is something we actually developed for all three levels of the exam. I'm going to show you a little bit later in terms of what this is all about. At the same time, we also have the curriculum ebooks and the PDF copies. We also have the mock exams being available as well. The completion of the program is likely for average time around 4 years. And some candidates, they can take it like something about 2 years, and some may take 5. And one thing don't undermine is the study and preparation time. And successful candidates told us that for each level, they spend more than 300 hours. And my team, which writes the exam questions, are actually writing the exam questions purely from the curriculum and also based on the learning outcome statements as well. So I have to say that the curriculum is essential for passing the exam. And personally, when I took the exam very long time ago, what I find very important is actually support from my peers. So therefore, forming a study group, getting the support from your local society in Philippines are actually some good ideas I would like to share with you as well. The learning ecosystem is something CFA Institute invested quite a bit in terms of providing a digital platform for candidates to study. It consolidates the entire curriculum and all the study tools. Now, when you log into the learning ecosystem, you're going to see a dashboard to show you in terms of your progress. You can also search by buzzword. For example, I'd like to learn more about CAPM. Then I can actually type in CAPM, and therefore I can see all the learnings, pages, learning outcome statements regarding CAPM to facilitate my study. It also allows you to actually form study group and reach out to fellow candidates and friends as well. This digital experience is something we believe will actually modernize the learning experience and increase the accessibility of our programs globally. Next, I would like to spend a little bit more time with you regarding why CFA Institute shifts from paper-based exam to computer-based exam. Now we are actually moving to a digital age, and as a result, we want to our program as well as our testing experience to reflect something that a lot of candidates are doing at practice, at work. Including myself, I have been getting more and more digital, and most of my time nowadays is actually using computers. So therefore, we figure out that it's very important to make our exam experience to be something that is up to speed, up to date. At the same time, it's also reflecting what candidates are actually doing at work. That's why CFA Institute made a very critical decision to switch to computer-based testing, and that's going to start next February. That really means this upcoming December will be the very last paper-based exam. Having said that, COVID-19 pandemic is unprecedented. Your safety is paramount. Having a CBT computer-based exam would better allow us to actually keep the social distancing measures as well as spreading the candidates accordingly and also increase accessibility. We believe this is going to actually increase the satisfaction of candidate experience by providing greater accessibility and safety as well. Our highest priorities remain unchanged. We want to uphold the passing standard and the value of the Charter. We also want to sustain the rigor and security of exam delivery. And at the same time, we want to enhance the quality of our candidate experience. So rest assured, these three priorities and guiding principles would definitely be maintained starting 2021 under the computer-based setup and environment. More about computer-based testing informations. This is how what's going to work. Candidates can actually self-schedule the exam appointments. The exam window for each administration will be up to 10 days, and there will be actually 4 administrations next year for level 1, 2 for level 2, and 2 for level 3. And we're also going to increase the number of test centers globally so that right now the test centers that are currently available will also be available starting next year under computer-based testing. At the same time, our exam duration will be shortened to cope with the computer-based testing. And I'm going to show you what does that mean shortly. One thing just to remind all of you is that candidates, they will not be able to register for adjacent window. Just to give you an example, level 1 exam will be offered 4 times next year in February, May, August, and also November. A candidate who has signed up for actually February, and let's say the person unfortunately fails the test, he or she cannot sign up for the May exam immediately. He or she will actually sign up for the August exam. So this is what's meant by not able to sign up for adjacent testing windows. I understand this may be a little bit complicated and a lot of information to digest. So therefore, please refer to CFA Institute's website in this actually URL link, and you are going to see a path diagram. And you can see that what does that mean by the different paths you can sign up. So what is the difference for computer-based exam? Now, first of all, under the paper-based that we have been doing for many years right now, as you can tell and you all know, the exam is actually offered only in June and December. So it's actually very limited in terms of the number of days you can take. But under a computer-based exam testing window, that means candidates can actually self-schedule in an exam window. Like what I mentioned, is actually offered multiple times in a year. And for each time, each window, there are actually up to 10 days for you to sign up. So it's definitely more agile and also flexible. Under paper-based exam, we're limited by manpower. So as a result, we currently proctor our exam in 192 locations globally. But going forward, starting next February, we will be able to actually provide more than 400 locations globally for computer-based exam. And these exam centers are actually managed by Prometric, being our vendor, in a secured and proctored facility. Under paper-based exam, currently, the exam time is 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, with 2 hours of break time in between. So therefore, it's going to be 6 hours of your total testing time. But going forward, in computer-based testing, the total testing time is going to be 4 hours and 30 minutes, with half an hour of optional break in between. A very common questions I actually get from members and candidates is, hey Grace, the exam time is actually shortened from 6 hours to 4 hours and 30 minutes. Does that mean the exam is actually easier? Does that mean that you are going to actually lower your quality and standards of the exam? Rest assured, I can tell you the answer is no. And the reason why is because actually CFA Institute invested in a research project that we asked professional credentialing, testing, and psychometric professionals to help us do a study. And based on this particular study, the result is simply saying that 4.5 hours are actually enough for us to differentiate candidates possessing a certain degree of knowledge and they are ready to get the charter or progressing to another level of the exam. Therefore, we are definitely not making the exam easier by shortening the exam time. We are definitely not lowering our standards. Candidates will still maintain a certain level of standards if they pass the exam in CBT. The change of the format will consist of fewer questions that I just mentioned in a proportional reduction of testing time. To give you an example, right now level 1 has 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes for each question. In CBT starting next February, this also remains the same. Candidates are expected to answer each level 1 multiple choice questions in 1.5 minutes. So what's different is there will be fewer number of questions because of this shortened exam time. And in terms of the formatting of the questions, they all remain the same. That means level 1 will all be standalone multiple choice questions. Level 2 will all be item set questions, and level 3 will be half essay and half item set questions. Another thing, rest assured, is the exam itself, they will be written by actually very professional charter holders in the exams, and they are also very experienced in terms of writing the exam. And all the questions will be built based on the curriculum and also the learning outcome statements. At the same time, the standard setting process will also be actually something similar as well, that we're going to actually making sure that candidates possess a certain passing scores reflecting their capabilities and competence to pass the exam. So this is how your exam day is going to look like under CBT. Now, first of all, you actually will have the ability to sign up when you register for exam to choose the location you want to be and also the date and time that is available. It's a first come, first serve basis. So therefore, please sign up when you would like to sign up in order to make sure that space is available. When you arrive at a prometric testing center, it's going to be a proctored facility. That means there will be proctors to help you and seat yourself. It's a very secure place with robust security measures. And each test center will be monitored, will be proctored, and in case of any misbehaviors during the exam. And you will be provided in terms of writing materials to do the test. You will also be allowed to bring in a calculator that is recognized. Currently, we are approving Texas Instrument BA2 Plus and also the HP12C. And in terms of the sequential logistics, is that it's going to make up first 30 minutes for you to actually sign the pledge, the tutorial, and also complete a candidate survey. And then in terms of after finishing this 30 minutes, you're going to have the first testing session, and that is made up of 2 hours and 15 minutes or 135 minutes. So during this time, you're going to actually go through the questions. Then you're going to get 30 minutes of a break time, and that is optional. Then you're going to actually go into the next 135 minutes of the testing time. So the total testing time is 4 hours and 30 minutes. Having said that, when you are in testing session number 2, you actually cannot go back to testing session number 1. Therefore, please finish everything in testing session number 1, complete it before you go to session testing number 2. Your total appointment time is about 5 hours and 30 minutes if you're going to actually take your break for 30 minutes and also the 30 minutes for the pledge, tutorial, and the survey. So this is what's going to look like for the December paper-based exam. It will be hosted in APAC on December 5th and also December 6th. And regrettably, as what Dr. Ramos mentioned, Manila site is actually deferred for the past paper-based exam. And for computer-based testing, and this is the exciting piece I want to share with you, that for level 1, it will be offered 4 times a year. For levels 2 and 3, it will be 2 times a year. For level 1, these are the windows: February, May, August, and November. Each window is roughly about 10 days. And for level 2, it will be in May and September. Level 3, it will be in May and November. Testing time, 4.5 hours. Exam content, 100% of multiple choice for level 1, 100% of item sets for level 2, half item sets and half essays for level 3, just like paper-based before. So in terms of 2021 exam schedule, I just mentioned about that. And the fee itself is actually the same as paper-based. There's a one-time enrollment fee of $450. Early registrations fee for each level is $700 US. And for the standard registration fee is $1,000 US. So for 2022 exam schedules and going forward, it's very similar to 2021, except that for levels 2, it will be February and August. For level 3, it will be May and November. Level 1 is the same, 4 times a year. Next, I would like to share with you more about the December 2020 exam and also all the deferral options. So the exam for December 2020 will be held on December 5th and 6th. And we have modified our exam day procedures to incorporate safety measures such as social distancing, wearing a mask, COVID-19 procedures. And this will be our last paper-based exam. And we are currently monitoring the pandemic situations very closely. And we are keeping on updating our web page like very frequently in terms of our contingency plans. And in particular, in terms of the test centers that will not be offered the December exam, we are actually keeping a very close eye on them and keep on updating our website. And some of the factors in terms of why some test centers are being closed, and including Manila for December exam, are largely related to government compliance, whether we'll be able to actually get a secured venue in place, and also whether we'll be able to ship our paper-based exam materials. So these are largely the factors why we make a decision to cancel a particular exam center. We actually notified our first batch of exam centers on October 7th, which unfortunately we won't be able to administer the exam in 37 locations. And we just updated our website yesterday in terms of more exam centers. So therefore, please keep yourself up to speed by checking the test center update website. For those candidates who actually sign up for the December exam and would like to switch from one exam location to another, unfortunately, we have closed that request and no exception can be made because of all the fluid factors we need to take into considerations. So I understand that Manila is impacted in terms of the December exam. So this is what you can do in terms of the impact. There are 2 options. if you sign up for the December exam already, you can actually defer to any available exam window for computer-based testing in 2021. And at the same time, if let's say you are a candidate who actually signed up in June and you are deferred to December, but unfortunately you are impacted twice because of closing of the December exam center at Manila, you are entitled to get a refund. And important message to you is that CFA Institute is actually emailing all the impacted candidates. So after you get the email, please pay attention to your mailbox to ensure that you get this email and follow the step-by-step procedures of what to do, because we are actually controlling in terms of sending out the emails. And as a result, I would like to encourage you to actually be very vigilant in terms of the emails from CFA Institute and follow the procedures accordingly. Some candidates actually asked me before saying that, hey Grace, can I actually defer to next year's exam immediately, given that I am impacted twice by June as well as December? I encourage you to get the email first and then follow the procedures, just because the email contains step-by-step procedures to follow through, which is actually much more efficient and effective, rather than you just going into the website, logging into your account to do so. Therefore, an important thing I urge you to do is to ensure that you actually tell CFA Institute in terms of your valid email address, and that is very important for us to keep hold of you. So let's say you are a June deferred candidate and you haven't re-registered yet. And also, let's say you are a December candidate, you are impacted, you want to actually defer to 2021. Please make sure that October 20th, next Tuesday, is the deadline for your deferral options. So if you are a June deferred candidate, you have not re-registered yet, you have until next Tuesday to actually log into your account and choose one of the 2021 exam window. And this is how you're going to change your exam date. For December candidates, you can sign up in your account and go to the CFA Program tile in the panel after you log into your account. And then you follow the instructions under Manage Your Exam to withdraw from the exam. And then after you withdraw from the exam, you may register for your choice of the future exam with no additional fees. But again, please complete this before October 20th. If you are a June postponed candidate and you haven't re-registered for any session, again, your deadline is October 20th. And please sign into your account and complete the registration process in order to choose which particular 2021 CBT exam window administration you want to take the exam. So I'm happy to actually answer your questions, and I'm sure that you have some. So please ask me questions regarding CBT, regarding the deferrals. Happy to listen.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Yeah. We actually have some questions here in our Q&A chat box. Some of them we have answered already. For those who asked the questions, you may look at the Q&A box that we have here.
Sure.
We can start with the we answered 3 questions already, and currently we have 7 open questions. First question is, how many exam takers can they expect in each center for the computer-based testing?
Good question. This one actually depends on the capacity of, let's say, the Manila site. And as a result, I mean, this is something we normally don't publish. And that's why we encourage you to do a first come, first served basis. You can actually check the availability of, let's say, your closest test center by inputting the city, which is Manila, and also the level of the exam you want to sign up. and also in terms of a 2-week window from what date to what date, and see whether seats are available. And the website itself is actually under Prometric, being our vendor. So you Google and search Prometric CFA Institute, you are likely to actually get a particular website, and then it will actually take you to that website, and you can see how many test centers are available in Manila at what particular date you are looking for.
Thank you very much, Grace. Now let's go to the second question. How many cases will there be for level 3 exam? Like how many in the morning and how many in the afternoon?
Sure. So I assume that this is regarding CBT question. So essentially, before the break and after the break, right now we are still planning. But because the proportion isn't going to change compared with paper-based, so I'll just answer this in a paper-based setting now. In terms of item set questions, for level 3, if I remember correctly, it's something around 10 plus. And then for essay questions, it is also something around that as well. But because the exam time is actually shortened, therefore, I would say that the number of cases will also be reduced proportionally.
Thank you very much, Grace.
You're welcome.
Yep. And another question here. Given the shortened exam time, is there a concern that the exam will not be able to test all the LOS in any given level?
Very good question. I would say that this is $1 million question, because when we actually design the test, design the exam, we also obviously focus on the learning outcome statements. But because this is actually meant to be a generalist exam, it's going to be broad-based, and therefore it's very difficult to actually try to actually plan in terms of what LS will be tested and which one will not be. And therefore, I do encourage you to make sure that you have a good understanding of the materials covered by all the LOS and also all the different topics as well.
Thank you, Grace. Um, Here, a question. If I fail the level 3 exam in May, can I register for November exam of that same year?
Now, my understanding is because for 2021, for the level 3 exam, it's offered in May and also offered in November. Because right now, candidates are not allowed to sign up for adjacent window. Unfortunately, the adjacent window for May is November. So therefore, I'm very sorry that means in this case, the candidate will need to sign up for 2022. And if I remember correctly, the very first available level 3 exam window is going to be May 2022.
Thank you for that information. Grace, here, I think we've answered this question already. How long after the exam will the results be provided given the new setup?
Our service commitment is definitely not going to be less than paper-based exam. It will be shorter, but I have to be, kind of transparent with you that it won't be a much shorter. That means you won't be able to get the exam results on the same day when you take the test, but it will be like shorter than 90 days, 60 days for levels 1 and 2, and 90 days for level 1, so for level 3, but it will not be much shorter.
All right. And here, what happens to the scholarship granted to the candidate in case of a refund due to the twice exam postponement?
Very good question. We are still determining this one. If I may, I would like to jot it down, and I hope to provide you an answer shortly on this one.
Thank you. Kindly also elaborate on the use of whiteboards or erasable tablets as replacement for scratch papers. What will most likely be provided to Manila takers, and how will this affect the exam experience?
Another very good question. So essentially, when you go to a Prometric proctored exam center, essentially you will be provided by like a whiteboard or piece of plastic with two sides, and then you will be provided a writing utensil, which essentially is a pen that you can write on this piece of plastic. And then because you can actually jot down your calculation, your notes. And just in case you want to actually write more, but the 2 pages are already full, you can use tissue paper to erase the ink already written on the whiteboard and continue on writing. So unfortunately, we won't give you scratch paper for you to write on a piece of paper. But this scratch board or piece of plastic is something that you can actually write, erase, and write.
Thanks. And the next question will be about the break time.
Yes, and there will be a 30 minutes optional break time between session 1 and session 2. So you're obviously more than welcome to take lunch. You can actually leave the exam center during this particular 30-minute break, and you can go out for a walk. You can take a break. You can get some fresh air, and of course, you can enjoy your lunch. But please make sure that you come back after 30 minutes.
Another question is, do you advise them to bring food at the exam center?
It's something you can considering doing that. The only thing is just that you need to actually eat your food outside of the exam, the testing area or the exam center. So that's the only thing be vigilant about.
All right, let me just go through because some of the questions were answered already. For computer based, are we allowed to go back to a question once we answered to change our answer?
Good question. So within the same session, say session 1, 2 hours and 15 minutes, yes. Let's say you're in the middle of question number 68, but hang on, I want to go back to question 15. Yes, you can do that. You can go back. But let's say if you're already in second session, then you can also go back to any question in second session, but you cannot go back to section 1.
Got that. All right. Can we expect Manila to add more testing centers and more time slots for this February 2021 Level 1 exam?
Very good question. We are actually planning our test centers basically based on obviously the number of candidates and also the number of demand as well. So my colleagues are doing a very meticulous and careful piece of work to monitor what is our current sign-up procedures and also the capacity of the exam centers and how many seat times are being filled. So as of this stage, we are obviously very aware of the situation and we are keeping a close eye on this one.
Thank you for that, Grace. Here, I plan to take a level 3 exam in May. What happens if the COVID-19 situation in Manila does not improve by then?
It's something that, unfortunately, I don't have a ready answer for you. Please stay vigilant, keep updated by yourself of the CFA Institute website, but stay positive. I'm sure that 2021 is going to be better.
Yeah, let's stay positive. For level 2 and level 3, does the non-adjacent test schedules imply you can still take tests for these levels once a year?
Correct.
What if prior to exam day, a candidate is being tagged as a close contact of a COVID positive patient and is required to undergo quarantine? Will the exam be forced withdrawn for the candidate? That's a very good question.
Yeah, this is a very good question, and I certainly don't want this to happen to any one of you. I think the very important thing is to remain healthy, and therefore please follow the local government's rules and regulations regarding quarantine. And if unfortunately something like this happens, please notify at your earliest convenience to CFA Institute, contact the Global Call Center, and let us know about that one. We'll definitely look into that. But I certainly don't want and don't hope this is going to happen to any one of you.
Yeah, that's true. And here it says, given that there is an exam window, does it mean we can take the exam at any date within that window? If so, will the set of questions differ per day?
Very good question. I mean, as I mentioned, the window itself can be up to 10 days. And therefore, I mean, in the scheduling software, you can actually pick what particular time you want yourself to be within that 10-day window. And having said that, fairness and equity are paramount to our candidate experience and also essentially to the exam. Therefore, we will actually do our best in order to ensure that candidate experience is actually consistent, no matter you sign up on day 1 or day 10 of that particular exam window, or even whatever window throughout the whole year. We will try our best to ensure that you have a very consistent candidate experience.
All right. Wow, we have questions are coming in.
No problem. I'm happy to answer anything.
Yeah, so do you have a sample of the exam environment under the computer-based testing? How will you ensure that the candidate's experience in the new testing environment will not affect their exam performance?
That's a very good question. I think for this one, stay tuned to our mock exam because we believe that mock exam will provide a very good experience, which is going to show a very good relevance in terms of the live exam. And therefore, I encourage you to stay tuned in terms of our mock exam under this computer-based testing.
So let me just check some of the questions right here. All right. Under the computer-based testing, will there still be a fixed, consistent time for all takers like in previous paper-based testing, or will takers be able to take on
Yes, sorry, go ahead, Rochelle.
yes, or will takers be able to take on a flexible time basis?
I think this one depends on what exam seat window is being available. So the testing time is remaining the same, being 4.5 hours, together with an optional 30-minute break in between, and then plus the seating time, the signing pledge like that. So therefore, this depends on the availability of the test centers in Manila for you to sign up.
Actually, there's a question here about paper-based testing. Will there be
Sure.
any considerations with CFA Level 3 candidates who want to take paper-based tests, given that we have no choice for December 2020 cancellation, and we badly want to finish our CFA exams in paper-based? Because here in Manila, the exam was postponed.
Fully understood. And I am so sorry about this one. And regrettably, starting actually 2021, all 3 levels will actually move into computer-based testing. That really means that paper-based is no longer an option starting 2021. Having said that, I actually see a question, and this is also a very common and very good question as well for essay. Will there be any spell check functions? To answer your question, when you type, there will be a small little red wiggy thing at the under, and this feature will actually continue in a CBT testing environment. That means when you type, and if there's a typo, there will be a red wiggle at the bottom of the word. So that feature is actually available.
Alrighty. Here. The exam will not. Oh, okay. The question is, will there be auto spelling correction function for the computer-based testing?
So essentially, it's actually the red curly thing at the bottom if there's a typo when you type. So I actually use that a lot when I type my passage in email and whatnot. Essentially, that actually helps me to see if there's a typo. And that particular feature will be available in computer-based testing for essay.
All right. And what if we encounter a computer problem during the exam? Will there another question? I'll connect the other question here. Will there be internet dependency under the computer-based testing?
Well, thank you. This is a very important question and very good question indeed. Essentially, in the Prometric Test Center, it's going to be proctored so that we practice around. If unfortunately, let's say there's a technology hiccup and there's loss in terms of the testing time due to IT or connectivity issues, proctors will be fully aware of it and candidates will be compensated for the lost time.
Thank you, Grace. Kindly describe essay portion in computer-based testing setup. Do we type in MS Word? like typing formulas would be a struggle?
Very good question. So essentially, the experience is actually very similar to Microsoft Word. There will be actually like a box for you to type your constructive response. And when you type your formula, essentially it's something very similar to typing a formula in Word as well, like a formula editor, which is being available.
And follow-up question on the food: is there a place where we can buy food at the venue? That's a good question.
That is a very good question. And pardon me on this one. And it depends on which test center you signed up in Manila. Because for the proctored exam test center or Prometri, that is actually a test center itself. So it depends on the neighborhood, whether food is actually available in the neighborhood of the test center.
Alrighty. And how can we review our computations if the material is only whiteboard?
I think maybe this is a little bit regarding the tactics to take the test. Like if you believe, let's say the formula itself or the rough work is something that you believe is important to be kept for your future revision, I probably won't erase that particular part. I probably will actually make sure that that part is bordered and therefore I won't touch it for further revision.
Are graded eyeglasses still allowed?
Glasses?
Eyeglasses, graded eyeglasses.
Not for the smart eyeglasses like those with actually smart devices, but let's say, reading glasses, of course.
When will mock exams for computer-based testing be provided so we can simulate exam experience?
I'm sorry, I don't have a timetable for you right now, but stay tuned for this one.
All right. And what if there will be a sudden brownout in the venue and all answers record are gone?
I certainly don't hope this is going to be happening. So because it's actually like a contingency, I'm sorry I don't have the answer immediately for you, but this is something I'll definitely take in my record and I will provide an answer.
And will the pandemic affect the number of candidates to be granted with access scholarship?
That is a good question, and we are still looking into this one right now, and stay tuned for this one.
All right. Can we bring our own scratch paper?
I'm sorry, we can't. Again, the reason why is because scratch board will be provided. And also at the same time, we also want to control in terms of the materials that candidates are actually going to bring into a proctored and secured location. We also want this experience to be consistent for all the candidates globally as well.
All right. Does it mean that the computer-based testing environment will be the same with the learning ecosystem? One problem I see from that is the passages are quite long and it's sometimes difficult to scroll.
Very good question. It's going to be similar, but I won't call it exactly identical because the learning ecosystem is something for actually candidates to learn, understand, and perhaps that's why materials may be a little bit more lengthy for better learning experience. But in terms of a live exam question, let's say an essay, we are very, very careful and vigilant to understand that candidates are just given a certain amount of time for each question. And that's why when my team designs the questions, we actually are very careful in terms of limiting actually the reading passage time and also the number of words as well. So we are actually currently testing in terms of the questions showing up in the software to make sure that candidates will have a good experience to scroll from one page to another in order to read the questions carefully and therefore answer the questions. Allow me to touch on this as well because some candidates ask this question. In paper-based case, I can underline, I can make scratch marks on the book, but may I actually do it going forward in computer-based testing? How am I going to do that if I want to circle, highlight on any important or buzzwords? Actually, in computer-based testing, you can do something similar. That actually in Prometric software, you can actually highlight under certain buzzwords in the question itself, and therefore It's actually something very similar to paper-based experience.
All right. So we'll answer, Grace, the last three questions tonight.
Sure.
Here, if I already re-register for February 2021, am I still allowed to change date? Or in the event that the February schedule is deferred again, do we follow the same options for the December 2020 deferment?
Good question. Now, the thing is, if you sign up in 2021, yes, you can actually change to another exam date, but there will be a fee. My understanding is the fee is US $25. But if unfortunately February is still something that we unfortunately need to defer because of, let's say, local regulatory environment, which is inevitable. Now, stay tuned for more information to come, just like December right now.
Okay. For computer-based testing, what can we bring on the exam day? And another question, I'll connect that. Can we bring our own pentel pen? We want those with thin tips so we can write more. And because what may be provided may have thick tips.
I will definitely reflect your comments. Now, the thing is, stationery will be provided, so therefore the pentel pens will all be provided to you, and please don't bring your own.
All right. I think that's about it for tonight. I think we were able to answer about 50 plus questions.
That's awesome. Thank you for such a wonderful MC.
So we're so grateful to have you tonight, Grace, and for answering those questions for us, those questions that we will not be able to answer here at CFA Society Philippines. And we'd like to thank everybody who came here tonight and who are very active in asking questions and would really want to know about the exam, about the computer-based testing. And we will look forward to seeing the candidates in the future as we, may we be able to see face to face, because in CFA Society Philippines, we have what we call Prestige Night, where we see those who passed level 1, level 2, and level 3, and all the new CFA charter holders. So it's a good opportunity for people to meet. So thank you very much for all the candidates who joined tonight, or for all of those who want to be candidates for the CFA program. We encourage you to take the program. We actually have an upcoming career guide webinar series in which we will be featuring the different career paths that you can take in finance and investment. So we'll start with equity research. We'll have Mr. Charles William Ang, a CFA charter holder, and a research analyst, of course, to talk about this career path. Thank you very much, Grace Young. I hope to see you soon.
I hope so too, Rochelle.
Yeah, we miss everybody already in our Asia Pacific office. And keep safe. And,
yes, you too.
Again, thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. It's my great honor to be here tonight. Thank you. Take care.